Alright, so in this video we're going to look at one of the most important and helpful features of Bootstrap, and that's the grid system. The Bootstrap grid is based on a multi-tier 12-column layout. So when you create a row and you assign the number of columns that a div should take up, the total shouldn't go above 12. So let me show you how it works. Basically, we have three major components, which are the container, the row, and the columns. Now we have a container here, and that'll push everything to the middle. Rows are going to be horizontal groups of columns that will ensure the columns are lined up correctly. So we don't have to do any kind of manual floating or alignment or anything like that. So it makes things really easy. So what I'm going to do is create a div, and this is going to be a row. So we're going to give it a class of row. And then we need to decide the size of this div, how many columns it's going to take up. I just want one div that takes up all 12 columns. So we're going to say div class call-md-12 for 12 columns. All right, now the MD stands for medium, and this pertains to the size of the window. All right, now if we only want this to pertain, let's say, if the window is on a mobile device like this, we could use XS, I believe, for extra small. Or we could use small or SM for something like this. But I'll get into that in a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and put some content in here. I'm just going to grab some dummy text and throw that in. Okay, and then if we go and reload, you'll see that this div stretches across all 12 columns. Alright, so let me give you an example of another row. So right underneath, we're going to say div class row. And I'm going to grab this and paste it in. Actually, I'm going to cut some of the text out. Okay, and then I'm going to change it to call MD6. Oh. Okay, this should also be MD. Alright, so this is going to be a 6-column div. Let me just indent this. Alright, so if I go and reload, now you can see that this column, this div, is 6 columns. It's half of it. Alright, if I want to copy this and paste it again, that'll give it another 6-column div. So we now have these two divs that take up half the size. Alright, now I just want these rows to have some margin in between so it's not that confusing. So I'm just going to add a style up here, style tags, and we'll say dot row and margin bottom 20 pixels. Alright, just to separate them a little bit. So here we have a 12-column div, and here we have two 6-column divs. Alright. Now notice if I go and I make this smaller, these 6-column divs now take up the whole place, alright, because we only specified it for the medium layout. If we want this to actually be split up, then we can add call, let's do XS6. Alright, so now if we save that and reload, now you can see that we have the split columns. Alright, so let's go and create another row. Let's see, I just want to tab these over. Alright, so we'll create another row. And we're going to just grab this right here and paste that in 3 times. And then we're going to change this to 4. And what this does is gives us 3 divs that are 4 columns wide. Save that, reload. And you can see we get 3 4-column wide. Now we can even go as far as making them just 1 column wide. So if I go ahead and copy this whole thing, paste that in, and then I'm going to change this to 1. And then what we'll do is just copy these divs Okay, so that's 6, yeah, 3, 6, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12. All right, so if I go and reload, now we have 12 one-column divs. Okay, so you can see how easy it is to lay this out. If we were to just use regular CSS and float and add our padding, you can see that there's automatic padding. It would get really messy, so this saves us a lot of work. Now another thing we can do is we can offset columns. All right, so let's say, let's look at this row here. Let's say that we want 2 4 columns, okay? So let's go up to that row, which is right here, and we'll get rid of this last 4 column div. All right, we'll save, reload. Okay, so we have these 2 4 column divs, but let's say we want them here and here, and we want this space to be blank. What we could do is set an offset. All right, I'm going to just get rid of the excess for now. Okay, so to set an offset, we'll say call md offset, and let's do 2. Let's see what that does. Okay, we reload, and you can see that now these are offset 2 columns. It pushed over 2 columns. If we want it to line up over here, then we want to offset it for 4. Okay, so now you can see that these 2 columns are now pushed over. Now we can also we can nest grids. So let's say this right here, which is a 6 column, this here, and let's say we want to split this up into 3 nested divs. So what we could do is get rid of that, and we'll say div class row, because we want to create a nested row. And then in here we'll put a div with the class of call md6. Okay, and we're just going to grab some text, put that in, and then we'll copy that 6 column div and put another one right next to it, reload, and now you can see that inside this 6 column div we have 2 6 column divs. Alright, so it pertains to whatever it's wrapped in. And I think that's a good place to stop. So you can see this is really easy. Once you get the hang of it, it makes things so much easier to align and separate content. You don't have to worry about padding or any of that stuff. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at some of the JavaScript plugins that Bootstrap offers.